Elias Wren had spent 11 quiet months on Outpost Anilo 3, a lonely human research station floating at the edge of mapped space. The station was small, old, and usually silent except for the gentle hum of life support machines. Most days were predictable. Check the scanners, record atmospheric samples from the nearby moon, fix whatever tool decided to break that day, and drink too much recycled coffee. Nothing exciting ever happened. Nothing strange ever happened. And definitely nothing alive ever came close to the outpost. That was why, when the alarm lights flashed bright orange early one morning, Elias almost dropped his mug. Coffee splashed across the console, and he stared at the blinking panel in disbelief. Unidentified, life signature approaching. Distance: 300 meters and closing. At first he thought it had to be a glitch. Maybe a drifting microorganism cloud? A malfunction in the sensor array? An echo from some faraway system? But the signal grew stronger, steady, and focused. Someone or something was coming straight toward the airlock. Elias wiped his hands on his uniform and hurried down the corridor. He was trying not to panic, but his heart was beating fast. The outpost had no weapons, no defense systems, and no instructions for unexpected doorstep visitors. By the time he reached the airlock, the outer scanner was already showing a shape. It was small, humanoid, light-boned, not threatening in size, at least. Elias swallowed and pressed the intercom. Hello? Do you understand me? Do you understand me? Do you understand me? There was no answer. Just a faint sound, almost like soft breathing. He leaned closer to the screen. The figure was waiting patiently on the landing pad. A thin cloud of silver dust floated around them, meaning they had come through the asteroid belt, outside the system. Whoever they were, they had traveled far. Elias hesitated only a moment before starting the docking sequence. If they had wanted to harm him, they would not have walked politely to the front door. The outer door hissed open. When the figure stepped inside, the airlock lights brightened automatically, revealing the visitor clearly for the first time. She looked like a woman, though her species was clearly not human. Her skin was pale, lavender, soft and luminous, like flower petals under moonlight. Her eyes were large and bright, the color of clear water. A thin line of markings wrapped around her temples like natural tattoos. She wore a simple woven cloak that shimmered when she moved, and her hands twisted nervously at the fabric. Elias froze, caught between awe and confusion. He had seen pictures of this species before in xenology briefings, the Serellas. A peaceful but extremely shy civilization known for keeping distance from almost everyone. But he had never seen one this close, and she was staring at him with desperate hope. She opened her mouth to speak, then stopped. Her fingers fidgeted harder, twisting the corner of her cloak until it crumpled. Her throat bobbed as if the words were stuck there. It was clear she was terrified. Elias softened his voice. It's okay. You're safe. I won't hurt you. The alien woman tried again. This time, a thin, trembling voice emerged. I need help. The words were shaky, but understandable. Her accent was light, but strange. Each syllable had a musical softness. Elias nodded slowly, encouraging her. Tell me what you need. She hesitated, eyes dropping to the floor. Her foot tapped lightly on the metal, like she was trying to gather courage. Her hands pressed together tightly. I am Lyana, she whispered. He repeated her name gently. Lyana. I'm Elias. You're welcome here. She lifted her eyes to him. Something like relief flickered there, but it faded quickly. She took a deep breath, exhaled shakily, then finally spoke the sentence she had struggled to form. I came to ask if you would help me conceive. The words hung heavily in the air. Elias blinked in confusion. Help you? Conceive what? Lyana shook her head quickly and backed up a step. waving her hands as if to erase the misunderstanding she feared. No, not a child. Not anything biological. I am sorry. Humans use that word differently. I didn't mean... She closed her eyes, clearly embarrassed. I meant help us conceive a plan. An idea. A solution. Something new. Something we cannot form alone. Elias let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Ah. I see. He rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. Sorry. You startled me. Crime. I startled myself, she murmured. I practiced the words many times, but when I saw you, they disappeared. Her voice was gentle, but filled with worry so deep that Elias felt it immediately. This wasn't a random visit. This wasn't curiosity or exploration. She was afraid. Something was wrong. Why do you need my help? Elias asked softly. Your people are very advanced. Humanity has barely had contact with you. Lyana looked down again, fingers nervously rubbing the sleeve of her cloak. Our collective mind is failing. Elias straightened. Your collective mind? You mean the consciousness network? Your species shares? Yes. Lyana nodded slowly. The mind that connects us. The thought paths we all walk together. It is fracturing. Losing stability. Ideas no longer flow. Creativity weakens. Many cannot dream anymore. Some cannot even communicate. Her voice shook on the last word. Elias felt a tug of sympathy. The Serellas were known for their gentle nature and interconnected society. If their mental network was breaking, it might be breaking their entire world. I'm sorry, he said. But why come to me? I'm just a xenobiologist in a tiny outpost. Because, she whispered, your mind is different. How so? She gave him a timid, almost apologetic look. Humans think strangely, unpredictably, separately, yet also together. You break patterns. You argue with yourselves. You create new paths without needing a network. You shape ideas alone. We need that. We need someone who can think apart from us. Because none of us can. Anymore. Elias blinked. He had heard humans described many ways before, but never like that. You came all this way, for me? He asked. A tiny nod. I searched for many months. Lyana said quietly. Your outpost is the closest to our region, and you study alien cognition. I hoped you would not turn me away. She looked so fragile in that moment, small, trembling. Her hands twisting again that Elias felt a protective instinct rise in him. He stepped forward gently, keeping his movements calm, so he wouldn't startle her. You're not alone now, he said. Tell me everything. I'll do whatever I can. Her eyes widened. Light flickered inside them, like two small stars. You will help? If there's a chance I can make a difference, yes. Lyana trembled again, but this time with relief instead of fear. Her shoulders sagged, as if she had been carrying far too much weight for far too long. We do not have much time, she whispered. Our mental lattice is breaking faster each cycle. If we cannot conceive a new structure, one that allows flexibility instead of perfect unity, our people may lose the ability to think as individuals or as a whole. We may simply fade. The idea hit Elias hard. A whole species drifting into silence. A civilization collapsing not from war or disease, but from the slow breaking of its own shared mind. He nodded with growing determination. Then we should leave soon. I'll need equipment, records, anything you can share. Lyana straightened and gave a small bow. I will take you to Serella's Prime. Our council will answer your questions. I am grateful. More than I can say. Elias glanced back at the quiet outpost. The dull metal walls, the lonely hallways. He had spent months wishing something interesting would happen. Now something had. And it might decide the fate of an entire species. He turned to Lyana with a steady breath. "Let's go help your people conceive their future." Her eyes softened, full of hope that had been missing moments before. Together, they stepped toward the shuttle bay toward a world Elias had never seen, and a challenge no human had ever faced. The Serella's transport ship was unlike anything Elias had ever seen. It did not roar or shake like human shuttles. It did not burn fuel or release heat. It moved with the quiet grace of something alive, gliding through space, as if it simply decided to be somewhere else. As he and Lyana flew away from Outpost Anilo 3, Elias sat near a curved window, watching stars stretch into long lines of light. The inside of the ship glowed faintly with soft silver patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. The walls were smooth crystal, warm to the touch, and they changed color depending on mood. When Lyana felt calmer, the walls shifted to gentle blue. When worry crossed her mind, they turned pale gray. Elias found it beautiful and unsettling at the same time. "Your ships respond to emotions?" he asked. Lyana nodded. "They are grown, not built. They listen to us and shape themselves. It helps us travel together, without fear." Elias touched the wall lightly, amazed. Humans could never make something like this. Our ships barely listen to commands, let alone emotions. A tiny smile touched Lyana's lips, then faded. She looked out the window, her expression distant. Elias didn't push. He sensed she was preparing herself for whatever waited on her homeworld. Hours passed, or maybe only minutes' time felt strange inside the quiet, pulsing ship. Eventually, a pale blue glow appeared ahead. It grew larger, brighter, until an entire planet filled the view. Serella's Prime. Elias leaned closer to the window. The planet looked like polished glass. Clear oceans wrapped around massive continents, shaped like swirling petals. Floating structures hovered in the sky, each one shining like a shard of crystal. Some rotated slowly, scattering light in rainbow arcs across the clouds. Thin bridges of energy stretched from one floating city to another, like delicate silk threads. "It's incredible," Elias whispered. Lyana watched him carefully, as if gauging his reaction. "We do not build for strength. We build for harmony. Everything must reflect our shared thoughts." The ship descended gently toward one of the floating cities. As they entered the atmosphere, warm light filled the cabin, and the crystal walls hummed with soft tones like distant singing. When they landed, the doors opened soundlessly, revealing a wide platform made of translucent stone. Elias stepped out and felt a strange vibration beneath his boots, like faint echoes of distant thoughts. Lyana noticed his reaction. "You feel it?" "Yes." "What is it?" "The lattice. The world mind. Every city rests on points where the consciousness connects most strongly. You are sensing a small ripple of it." Elias nodded slowly, fascinated. He wanted to explore everything, learn everything, but Lyana gently motioned for him to follow her. "We must go to the thought hall. The council is waiting." They walked along a wide path that curved upward, almost like walking on a ribbon in the sky. Serella's citizens passed by, each one graceful and light-footed. They nodded politely at Lyana, but many stared at Elias with open curiosity. Not fear, just surprise. Humans rarely visited. He noticed something else too. They moved quietly, too quietly. Their expressions were soft but heavy, like a hidden weight pressed on every shoulder. And their steps, though graceful, seemed uncertain. Lyana saw him watching. "Our people feel the fracture in the lattice. It drains us, weakens us. Many have lost their sense of connection." Elias swallowed. "Does it hurt?" "In a way." She tapped her temple lightly. "Imagine losing the voices of everyone you ever loved. Not all at once, slowly, day by day. Day, day, day. Elias felt a chill crawl across his spine. He couldn't imagine that kind of loss, not just losing people, but losing the very sense of belonging. They reached the entrance of the thought hall, a massive structure shaped like a spiraling tower. Its surface shimmered, like frost in sunlight. As they entered, Elias felt a sudden pressure in the air, as though he had stepped into a place thick with invisible waves. The hall opened into a circular chamber filled with tall, curved seats arranged like petals. In the center flowed a pool of liquid crystal, glowing faintly with shifting colors. 5. Serella stood beside it. "These are the Council of Patterns," Lyana whispered. "They protect and guide our thoughts." The council members bowed lightly. Elias returned the gesture, unsure of the proper greeting but hoping it was close enough. The tallest council member stepped forward. Her crystalline markings traced down her arms like branches of a frozen river. "You are the human called Elias Wren?" "Yes," Elias replied. "I'm here to help, if I can." Another council member, older and slower in movement, examined him closely. "We feared Lyana would not find one willing to come." Elias glanced at Lyana, then back at the council. "She told me your network is failing, that your society can't form new ideas." The council exchanged troubled looks. "It is true," the tall one admitted. "For thousands of years, our minds flowed together in perfect unity. Every thought harmonized. Every creation rose from shared purpose. But unity has become rigid. Patterns cannot change. New thoughts cannot form." A younger council member's voice shook slightly. "The lattice was once our strength. Now it is our cage." Elias approached the glowing pool. "Because we have reached the limits of pure harmony," the tall council member said sadly. "We can no longer conceive thoughts that break old structures. Innovation requires something we have forgotten: disagreement, conflict of ideas, independent vision." Elias frowned. "Humans do all that naturally. Too naturally, some would say." "That is why you are here," Lyana said softly. "To show us ways of thinking we cannot create ourselves." The council nodded. Elias took a deep breath. "I'll try. But I need to understand your network first. Can I enter it somehow?" Any quote. Comster. Any quote. The council hesitated. Even Lyana shifted nervously. The older council member finally spoke. "It is dangerous. Our lattice is unstable. A foreign mind may cause disruption." Elias shrugged lightly. "Human minds are built for chaos. Maybe I'll fit right in." Lyana's lips curved in the smallest smile. "He may be right." The tall council member turned toward the glowing pool. "Very well. Lyana, guide him." Lyana stepped forward and reached out to Elias. He placed his hand in hers. Her skin was cool and soft, but her grip was steady. "Do not resist," she whispered. "Let the thoughts come. Breathe slowly." Elias nodded, though nerves buzzed in his chest. Lyana knelt beside the pool and dipped her fingers into the liquid crystal. The chamber dimmed. The pool brightened, and Elias felt reality twist. He gasped as his surroundings blurred into colors and shapes he couldn't name. Lyana's presence stayed beside him, a warm, steady thread in the storm. Thoughts pressed gently against his mind, like soft waves. He saw structures of light forming patterns. He saw memories, thousands of them floating like lanterns. He saw pathways woven between minds, each one delicate and shimmering. And he saw the damage. Cracks spread through the lattice like fractures in glass. Threads snapped silently. Patterns flickered and died. Whole sections of the network drifted in darkness. Elias's chest tightened. It felt like watching a living being fade away. Lyana's voice echoed softly through the mindscape. "Do you understand now?" "Yes," Elias whispered. "I do. But understanding only brought more questions. He turned slowly, looking at the broken pathways. You said, you can't make new ideas. But can you support ideas made by someone else? Yes, Lyana replied. If the idea is strong enough, the lattice can adopt it. It can reshape around it. Elias stared at the shimmering structures. He was only one human, one mind, facing a whole civilization's struggle. But he also felt something else, excitement. Humans were good at disorder, at building from chaos, at creating something new from broken pieces. I think I can help, he murmured. Lyrana's presence brightened, warm and hopeful. The lattice flickered around them, like stars waiting for the sun. Inside the mindscape of the Serella lattice, Elias felt like he was floating through a living universe. It was beautiful, glowing pathways, shimmering memories, and thought bridges stretching in all directions. But the beauty was damaged. Everywhere he looked, he saw cracks like broken ice, pieces drifting apart, and ideas fading into emptiness. He moved carefully, guided by Lyrana's presence beside him. She stayed close, her light form glowing softly in the vast mental space. Is this how you experience life every day? Elias asked. In a stronger form. Yes, she replied gently. We used to hear each other clearly, feel each other's emotions, share ideas like air. Now, everything feels distant. A faint shiver ran through her presence, and Elias sensed her sadness. He wished he could say something comforting, but he didn't want to interrupt the focus they needed. There, Lyrana said suddenly, pointing toward a cluster of glowing lines. The central thought core. It is where our most important concepts form. The closer they got, the more Elias felt tension in the mental air, like static electricity, but emotional. The thought core pulsed weakly, dimmer than the surrounding pathways. When they stood beside it, Lyrana touched the surface, and a soft wave of sorrow rippled outward. It is weaker than I feared, she whispered. Elias stepped forward. Let me see how your network forms new ideas. Lyrana hesitated only a moment before opening the thought core to him. Light spilled out, and Elias felt a rush of impressions. Unity, harmony, agreement, peace, balance. They were beautiful principles, but rigid too, perfect, too still. It's like a song, Elias murmured. A beautiful song. But it only has one note. Lyrana nodded slowly. Yes. All Serella minds sing the same melody. We have forgotten how to sing different ones. Elias watched the repeating patterns inside the glowing core. Every attempt to form a new idea simply reshaped into something familiar. Nothing changed. Nothing evolved. You don't have the concept of contradiction, he realized, or conflict of ideas. Your minds aren't built for it. We did not need it, Lyrana said softly. For thousands of years, our harmony solved everything. But harmony alone can't create new paths, Elias said. Sometimes, you need friction, debate, even mistakes. Lyrana looked at him, eyes wide in the mindscape. That is why we came to you. Elias nodded, feeling the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. He studied the cracks, spreading across the lattice. They looked like fractures in a great mirror. Lyrana's voice quivered. Do you have a solution? Elias thought carefully. He was only a human. One person. One small mind. But humans were unpredictable. Humans created best when rules broke, when order collapsed, when everything seemed impossible. He took a deep breath. I think your lattice should support individuality. Individuality? Lyrana repeated the unfamiliar word slowly. Yes. Right now, your network forces everyone to think the same. It doesn't allow different ideas, so it can't adapt. But if you could have your own thoughts and stay connected, Your society could become stronger. Lyana looked confused. But individuality would break unity. Not break it. Elias corrected gently. Balance it. You need both unity and independence. Harmony and disagreement. Your lattice should be flexible, not perfect. Lyana lowered her gaze. Our people have never considered such a thing. Our. That's exactly the problem. A ripple echoed through the mindscape. Bright lines pulsed, almost like startled breaths. Elias realized the council was listening through the network. Lyana sensed it too. Suddenly, the mindscape around them shifted sharply. A new presence appeared, multiple presences, shaped like tall, glowing figures. The Council of Patterns had entered the lattice. The tallest figure stepped forward. Her light flickered with disapproval. Human Elias, she said, her voice deep and echoing. You propose that we abandon our unity? No, Elias replied calmly. I propose that you strengthen it. By allowing minds to think independently. Another council figure shook his head. Independence creates conflict. Conflict creates change, Elias replied. You need change. Or, your lattice will collapse. The mindscape trembled. The council exchanged worried glances. Their combined presence created a heavy emotional pressure. Lyana stepped forward, placing herself slightly between Elias and the council. He speaks with truth, she said, forcing her voice to stay steady. We have tried to fix the lattice using our old ways. It failed. We cannot solve this without new thinking. The council's lights dimmed slightly, as if struck by grief. Our ancestors built the lattice on perfect unity, one of them said. It is sacred. To alter it, we fear it may destroy us. Elias stepped closer to the fracturing pathways. The cracks widened slowly, like growing wounds. If you do nothing, he said gently, the lattice will destroy itself, and you with it. Silence fell over the mindscape. A long, heavy silence. Finally, the tall council member turned to Elias. Show us what you envision. Lyana gave him an encouraging nod. Elias reached toward the cracked lattice. His hand glowed in the mindscape, reacting to his intention. He imagined two circles, one representing unity, the other, individuality, overlapping each other. A hybrid model. A balance. He projected the idea gently into the lattice. At first, nothing happened. Then the structure trembled. Colors rippled through the pathways. A faint light grew inside the cracks, filling them instead of widening them. New shapes formed. Shapes unlike any Serella pattern. Lyana gasped softly. It's working. At least a little. But then the mindscape shook violently. The council recoiled. Stop. The lattice is unstable. Elias tried to pull back his projection, but the lattice clung to the new idea, hungering for it, desperate for change. The entire structure vibrated like a harp string, pulled too tight. Lyana grabbed Elias's arm in the mindscape. We need to leave. Now. The world of glowing threads blurred. Pathways snapped like breaking branches. Light shattered around them. Elias felt his mind slipping, pulled by chaotic energy. Lyana, go! He shouted. No, she cried, pulling him toward the exit. You cannot stay here alone. A massive shockwave blasted through the lattice. The council disappeared behind the glare. Elias felt himself being thrown backward into darkness. For a heartbeat, he heard only silence. Then, a hand grabbed him. Lyana. She pulled him through the collapsing pathways, guiding him toward the exit of the mindscape. The world shook violently behind them, like thunder tearing through glass. Just before the mental world shattered completely, they burst out into the physical thought hall, gasping for breath. Elias staggered, falling to one knee. Sweat dripped down his forehead. His heart raced, as if he had run miles. Lyana collapsed beside him, trembling. Her skin flickered with unstable light. She looked scared, exhausted, and overwhelmed, but alive. The council members appeared moments later, emerging from a nearby chamber with pale, strained expressions. "What you attempted," the tall council member said, voice unsteady, "has awakened something in the lattice. Something dangerous. Something powerful." Elias wiped his forehead. "I didn't do it alone. Your network wanted change." Lyana raised her head, eyes glowing softly. The lattice tasted independence, and it did not reject it. The council stared at her in silence. Elias steadied himself on the glowing floor. "This is only the beginning. We need to shape the idea properly. A full model. A new structure." The tall council member's expression darkened with fear and hope mixed together. "Human," she whispered. "You may have conceived a paradox." Elias nodded. "And paradox," he said, "might be exactly what saves you." The thought hall was silent. Not peaceful. Not calm. Just silent in the way a storm becomes quiet before it breaks. The Serella's council members stood in shock. Lyana knelt on the shimmering floor, her breath uneven. Elias leaned against a pillar, trying to steady the spinning in his head. The lattice had reacted. Not with rejection. Not with collapse. But with hunger for change. Elias rubbed his temples. "We need to finish the idea. If we stop now, the lattice will break itself trying to grow without guidance." The tall council member frowned. "And if we continue, it may consume us." Elias exhaled slowly. "Or save you." Lyana stood shakily, but her eyes were bright with a strange new confidence. "I believe we must try again. But not in the central lattice. Not where the structure is weakest." Elias nodded. "Agreed. We need a smaller focus point. A safe area where we can shape the idea slowly." The council exchanged uncertain glances. "That would require a private link," the older council member said. "A separate chamber." Lyana stepped forward. "The Prism Sanctuary." The council members looked shocked. "That place is sacred," one whispered. "Only those seeking deep reflection enter." "Then it is perfect," Lyana said firmly. "Our people built it for quiet minds and new insights. If change can begin anywhere, it is there." The council hesitated, but finally nodded. "Very well," the tall council member said. "You may use the sanctuary. We will monitor from a distance." The Prism Sanctuary was located at the highest point of the floating city. Elias followed Lyana up a spiraling bridge that circled a tall, slender tower made entirely of clear crystal. Sunlight streamed through it in bright beams, painting the walkway with dancing colors. As they climbed, Elias felt lighter, calmer. Even his racing thoughts slowed. "It is designed to ease the mind," Lyana explained softly. "Here," the lattice whispers instead of shouting. Inside, the sanctuary was almost empty. A single round platform rested in the center, glowing faintly. The walls sparkled with gentle light, refracting into soft rainbow patterns. Elias breathed deeply. "It's beautiful," Lyana nodded. "This place helped our ancestors discover peaceful thinking. Now, perhaps it will help us discover new thinking." They stepped onto the platform. Immediately, Elias felt the lattice touch his mind, but gently this time, like a breeze instead of a wave. Lyana joined him, and the sanctuary brightened with their shared presence. "Are you ready?" she asked. "As ready as I'll ever be." They closed their eyes. The sanctuary pulsed, and the mindscape opened. This time, the mind world was calmer. Instead of chaos and shaking pathways, Elias saw a wide open space filled with floating lights. The lattice hovered quietly in the distance, weakened but not attacking. Lyana's form appeared beside him, glowing pale blue. We must shape the idea slowly. Show the lattice what individuality means. Give it a structure to follow. Elias nodded. Let's build it together. He formed a thought in the air, a small sphere representing individuality. Lyana formed another sphere, representing unity. Slowly, carefully, they guided the two shapes toward each other until they overlapped. The lattice pulsed. The overlapping spheres merged into a soft, glowing shape, a symbol of balanced thought. Lyana whispered, "This is beautiful." Elias smiled. "This is only the beginning." He guided the new shape into the empty space around them. It grew little roots of light, connecting to other faint lines. Lyana helped the shape expand, giving it gentle curves that mirrored Serella's harmony. Together, they built a new concept: unity supported by individuality, harmony enhanced by difference, a lattice where minds could walk together and alone. The mindscape trembled not violently, but with excitement. The lattice reached forward like a curious child, touching the new structure. It absorbed a small part of it, testing the idea. For a moment, Elias thought it would reject it. But then, the lattice brightened. Lyana gasped. It accepted the foundation. More cracks in the far distance filled with light. Broken pathways began glowing, healing slowly. The network was learning, adapting. Elias felt cautious hope. We need to finish it. Give it enough structure to copy across the whole lattice. Lyana nodded. Then let us continue. They worked slowly, shaping more balanced nodes of thought. Every time they added a piece, the lattice watched, learned, and reacted. Sometimes it flickered in confusion. Sometimes it brightened in understanding. Elias spoke ideas out loud, simple ones, small ones about creativity, disagreement, exploration, self-thinking. Lyana translated those ideas into gentle patterns the Serella's mind could understand. Piece by piece, a new model grew. But suddenly, a deep tremor rippled across the mindscape. Elias nearly lost balance. Lyana grabbed his arm. "What's happening?" Elias asked. Lyana's voice shook. "The lattice is spreading the new model too fast. It wants to heal everything at once. It may overload." Elias clenched his teeth. "No, slow it down." Lyana tried, sending calming thoughts into the network, but the lattice pulsed harder. "We must anchor it," she said urgently. "Give it a stable core. Give it a stable core." Elias looked around. "The sanctuary. It's acting like an amplifier." He focused on the model they created, shaping a strong, stabilizing idea like a pillar that held everything steady. Lyana joined him, strengthening the core with Serella's harmony. Their combined thought flashed bright. A beam of light shot through the mindscape, connecting all their new structures. The lattice inhaled, if a world mind could inhale, then quieted. The tremors stopped. Lyana fell to her knees, shaking with relief. "We did it! It's stabilizing." Elias sank down beside her. "Not just stabilizing, it's evolving." All around them, the lattice glowed with new color. The cracks were filling. Pathways reformed, not identical as before, but varied and flexible. Voices whispered softly Serella's minds, awakening new thoughts for the first time in their history. A wave of hope swept through the entire network. Lyana looked at Elias with wide, shining eyes. This is a new age for us." Elias smiled softly. "You helped me just as much. I could never have done this alone." The mindscape brightened one last time like a rising sunrise and slowly faded as the sanctuary released them. Elias opened his eyes inside the crystal room. The council and several Serella citizens waited anxiously at the entrance. The tall council member stepped forward, breath trembling. "Is it done?" Lyana smiled, almost glowing herself. "Yes. The lattice is healing stronger than before. A wave of relief rippled through the chamber. Some Serellas even placed their hands over their hearts, eyes shimmering with gratitude. The older council member stepped toward Elias. "Human, you conceived a future we could not imagine." Elias shook his head. "Lyana and I did it together." Lyana bowed to him. "You gave us what we needed most difference." The tall council member raised her chin. "From this day forward, humans will be honored among us. Your species brought us back from silence." Elias simply smiled. "Humanity is good at making noise." There was soft laughter around the room, gentle, musical, and full of life. As the floating city glowed brighter outside the windows, Elias felt a quiet pride settle in his chest. Not a loud victory, but something deeper. He had come from a lonely outpost, thinking his life was quiet and small. But here, in a city of crystal mines, he had helped change the destiny of an entire species. Lyana stepped beside him. "Elias." He looked at her, warm and steady. "No. Thank you for trusting me." Outside, the sky shimmered as the Serella's lattice pulsed with new light, alive, evolving, and full of possibility. A new harmony had begun. Not perfect, not uniform, but balanced, creative, and strong. Humanity, once again, had surprised the galaxy with something no one expected. A simple spark of imagination,